Thank you. Thank you. You're very kind. Thank you so much. What an honor to be here. Most importantly, what a privilege to do the keynote about product vision. I'm actually very, very honored by this. What's interesting about this is this session is about you. It's all about marketers. It's all about us. But before I go into the depths of the product vision and the rest of it, I want to share a story with you. I love Revolution. It's like Christmas for me. I love it, right? Last year, I missed it. It was, but for a very good reason, because I became a new father. So that's my beautiful daughter. This is when you say, "Aw." Yes, yeah. Thank you. As you can see, she's beautifully sleeping. What I can tell you is, what they don't tell you when you are a new father is that you don't sleep like that, right? For a few weeks, if not months, I wasn't sleeping. I had the black eye, delirious peach, the whole thing, right? So I had the whole package. But then I had a call from Alan, and Alan says, "Hey, Raj, do you want to come to Boston?" And I go, usually I try and sort of get away with transatlantic trips. I'm not very enthusiastic about it. But this time, I said, "Oh, hell yeah, I'm coming." Just because I wanted to sleep for 7 hours in total. That's it. It was very simple. I just wanted to sleep for 7 hours. So got on the flight, spoke to the air crew, and I said, I really like you, but you have to do one thing for me. I don't want any drinks. I don't want any nuts. I don't want any food. I'm just going to go to sleep, right? Wake me up if we have landed. Just in case we are crashing, just wake me up after we've crashed, right? So I just wanted to, and then went to sleep. But the interesting thing about the trip was, it was very special for me simply because of the fact everything was perfectly arranged. My cab was perfectly arranged. I had the best seat in the house. I had the best flight, and I had the right hotel. It was just picture perfect. We all get that sort of warm and fuzzy feeling. That's what I had, and it was really special. And here's the thing, but we don't get that very often, right? And that's what we're going to explore. So what I want to do is I want to invite you to come along on a journey with me for the next 45 minutes. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to explore why we don't get that personalized experience. Why is it not customized to our own needs? Because we all like it. We know we all like it, but we still don't get it, right? And that's exactly what we're going to do. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you know what? Asking questions is easy. I understand that. Here's the thing. Being a marketer is not easy. We have changing business needs all the time. We have changing consumers' needs. You're pulled in multiple directions. I think the worst of all, this is our opinion of it, is the technology landscape. The changing technology landscape is a huge problem. Let me show you a graphics. It's MarTech 5000, right? It's titled MarTech 5000, but it's got 6,829, but it's still MarTech 5000. And this is what is happening to us on a daily basis. There's 6,829 MarTech platforms out there, which is adding to your day-to-day workload, day-to-day confusion, and you are tempted to buy some of those. Speaking of buying process, let's do something fun, right? I promise you it'll be fun. For people who have had the very pleasurable experience of buying MarTech, you'll be able to associate with it. So let's do a quick poll, if you don't mind. How many of us in this room who've bought marketing software? There's a fair few. Please hold it. How many of you have been a part of the buying process? Okay, there's a fair few, okay? So here's the thing. For those who haven't had the fantastic pleasure of buying marketing software, let me give you a scenario. But I'm not going to go technical on it. I'm going to go day to day, right? Scenario. Here's what I want you to imagine. I want you to really imagine this. You are hungry. I mean, like really hungry, to a point where you are hangry. You know, the two words you combine, hungry and angry put together. So you are at that point of being hungry. And then you're thinking, you know, I could do with a really nice burger. Yeah, that's a great idea. And then a sales rep comes along, slick suit, the whole thing. And he comes along and says, hey, you can have this. And you go, wait, that's exactly what I want. I could do with one of those. That's the burger I want. And then you go, can I have that? And the sales rep goes, of course you can. Here's your contract. And you go, yeah, done it. I got it. And this is what you get next day. A burger in a box? Hey, hang on. I wanted a burger, not a burger in a box. So you're telling me I have to cook this up? Yeah, that's what you signed for. Hey, no, that's not what I signed for. I wanted a burger. And you're like, okay, now I'm stuck with it. I have to do something with it, right? Okay, let me put this together. So you rustle something up, and you end up with this. This is what I wanted, the one on the left. And this is what I got. It's not my fault. I'm not a chef. I'm not a trained chef. I can't even put a burger together, but it's the fault of the DIY box. And isn't that a reality when we buy software? We understand it. We get it. So here's a way to look at the same problem a little bit more differently. Our R&D team, very clever chaps, you know, we love them to bits. We posed a question 2 years ago. We were thinking, what is the actual problem? And we truly believe this is the actual fundamental problem we need to be looking at. Here's a curve you see here. This is the Martek's law curve. You have the exponential curve where software and technology is being released. Previously, it was email automation, then came omnichannel automation, and now it's all about AI. Whereas in the bottom is the marketer's adoption curve, which is a linear curve or logarithmic curve. Mathematically, if you think about it, these curves will never meet. And the difference between these curves is going to increase over a period of time. And that's what we call as the adoption gap. This adoption gap is going to increase every single day, whether we like it or not. And that's a fact. That's what is happening in the current market, and that's exactly our fundamental problem. So how do we solve this? Even before we could go to the answer, the first thing we need to understand is, why is it a problem? And that's what we're going to do. Simply because of the fact, the first step of getting to know a software and utilizing to the full extent has three distinct phases. The first phase is the adoption phase. This is where, you know, we all go, okay, I'm going to do data mapping, I'm going to do loading, I'm going to go ETL, and then I do IP warm-up, and then I do training, and you all associate with that, right? And then you have to do certification. Hang on, who came up with this concept of certification? It's ridiculous. So it's basically the software vendors out there telling us marketers to say, hey, you know what? Our software is great. It's brilliant. You, the marketer, need to get better. That's what you need to get certified on. What? That doesn't sound right. Okay, you go through the certification because your boss asked you to do it. Great. And then you get stuck in the next phase, which is optimize. So it took you so long to start putting together all your business critical cases together, and then you've already gone past 9 to 12 months, you're into year 2, and then now you're implementing campaigns. And then what happens is you start going at a full pace. You're already into year 2. And then you realize, I really don't want to look back what I did. First of all, I don't even want to touch some of the campaigns because they are scary-ass campaigns. Right? And you don't even want to optimize it simply because of the fact it took you this long to get here and you want to get on with this. And that's what we call as the evolutionary barrier, which actually stops you, literally, from evolving to the next phase. So our R&D team are absolutely obsessed with this idea of breaking this evolutionary barrier. So what do we do? So how do we solve it? Simple. Let's go back to the curve. What we did was we simply raised the bar. We simply shifted the baseline from where it was to a completely different dimension so that you can get to the point of innovation quicker, so that you can get time to value quicker, so that you can start evolving quicker. Hey, Raj, you know what? It's easy if you show it in the graph. Doing it in reality is difficult. We understand it. We know it because we went through it for the past 2 years. The number of iterations we did, the number of changes we had to do, we had to fundamentally recode parts of our platform. We had to fundamentally change the architecture of our platform. It wasn't simple. But we solved it. We are here, and we are excited. And we did it in 3 distinct phases. The first problem, the first big rock we tried shifting was personalization. We all love personalization. We are marketers, and that's what we're here. That's what we do, and that's why we want to get better at it. But here's the thing. When I worked with marketers, some of our customers, and I actually found out their workflow on a day-to-day basis. I did a big brother on them. I sat and watched them for a bit, what they did on a day-to-day basis. When they want to personalize, here's what I saw. They have to go into a channel to start with, whether it's an email channel or an SMS channel or a push or a web channel, and then they started personalizing. If it was a simple personalization, like if you're personalizing by the first name or last name, it's great. But when you start getting into some hairy conversations, then it becomes difficult. And then they have to do things like scripts. They have to do things like HTML. They have to do queries, and they have to do ETL, and then it goes on and on and on. The thing is, that's not even personalization. And that's not even marketing. That's a degree in IT. And that's not how personalization should be. So what we did was, we did 3 fundamental things. First of all, we wanted to make personalization channel agnostic. And I mean it, because that's the only way you can personalize your consumer's experience consistently across platforms. So that's the first thing we did. The second thing is we gave a differentiated UX. There is no combining IT interfaces with marketers where they have to do coding and all sorts of scripting and things like that. So we gave a clean interface for marketers and a separate interface for IT so that they can coexist together, because it is required at some point in time, but they can achieve the same thing, which is personalization. The third and the most important thing, we always think in terms of use cases. That's what marketing is all about. We redesigned the entire personalization service based on use cases. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and have a look at how the software is redesigned to do some of these. Okay, I'm going to go through the personalization experience, but here's an example we're going to go through. Okay, so a simple email. A customer came to us. This is a live example, by the way. A customer came to us, and they said, hey, here's how I want a communication to go out. The first thing is we want to personalize with the contact data, so you can see that it says, Lucy, this product is whatever. And the second part is they wanted to personalize the content or communication based on their consumers' wish list data and if the price has dropped. And only if the price has dropped. Simple enough, right? And then the third one is a very personalized voucher. And the last but not the least, with recommendations inside it. They came to us and they said, yeah, okay, so yeah, we can do that, not a problem. And then this is how it actually turned out to be. You go into the platform, and then you have a very scary looking email, and then you have to go into the personalization services here, for example, and I click on it, and then it sort of highlights a code somewhere on the left-hand side, and then I have to go into another coding area, and then if I'm lucky, I'll be able to do it correctly. And then if I go down, it gets even more scarier. There's a piece of code which says, here is a for loop for me to personalize the content of the placeholders. And then I have to somehow find it, and then do the personalization. As scary it is, that's reality, and that's the workflow many of the marketers have. And here's the thing. This is not just Emarsys. I've been around for the past couple of decades, and I've seen this happen in many of the platforms across the industry. And here's the thing. What we are trying to do is we are trying to do exactly the same thing again and again, but we're trying to do something different. And Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing again and again and again and trying to get different results. It's insane. This is not personalization. The first thing we need to do is to take it out of the channels. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you the personalization services, where you go into the personalization service, which is a completely different UI, and then you go create your tokens, and then you have a choice of creating the tokens from different databases: contact, external data, relational data, additional data, and then you also have webhooks, and then you have the product recommendations and vouchers. In this case, we're going to go with the relational data because we want to pull in the wish list data. I'm going to click that. I'm going to give it a name, and then I'm going to select my use case, which is the wish list price drop. And then I'm going to select my data set, which is my wish list again. And then I'm going to choose my field. As you'll notice, as I'm doing the UI clicks, I also have my code automatically generated for me. And then I can use my index because I want to insert 3 items. And also a criteria which says, don't send this communication if the data is not there. Right? A complex piece of scary-looking for loops and all sorts of things, done. I'm going to save my token. That's done. And then the next thing we need is, we need the same tokens to be available in all the different channels. Otherwise, it wouldn't be channel agnostic, would it? So now that's what I'm going to do. We're going to go into the different channels, and then I'm going to start inserting all the personalization. Go into the wish list use case. I'm going to drag and drop it where the placeholder should be. You have a template. And then once I've inserted the token, I'm going to delete the extra parts. And then the next one, which is the old price here. And then again, I'm going to delete the extra vestigial stuff. And then the third part is inserting the new price. Okay? Once that is done, I'm going to delete the personalization placeholder as well. A little bit of cosmetic changes is required, so I'm going to go into my second part, highlight it. Once I've highlighted it, I'm going to do a strike through so that it's the old price. Done. And then I'm going to go down in a bit to show how we can also personalize using the vouchers. So that we have a gold voucher here, which can be a pre-done token, and then all the personalized recommendations, which are already there. So every single token you need for that particular use case is already there, ready for you. Okay? I'm going to do a contact preview. Click it. And voila. And that's your tokens done. And then you have your complete set of codes in there, which is vouchers, your data sets, the whole thing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into a different channel, like web, for example. I'm going to go into the web, do the same thing, go into my wish list price drop. I'm going to make a space for my tokens, which is my wish list price drop. I'm going to drag and drop the first name so that we personalize the customer's experience, saying, hey, Raj. And then the next one is I'm going to insert the token, which is based on the product title, to say, hey, this particular item is actually dropped in price. Now that is done, the next thing I need to do is to go into my next channel, which is SMS. Again, the same process as you'll see. It's very consistent in a way. I'm going to go into the content creation part, and I'm going to go into the wish list use case, and then drag and drop the new product price, which the customers can use across the SMS channel. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, what you see here is a channel agnostic way of doing things. There is no coding, there is no nonsense around scripting. You create your tokens once, and you deploy it across multiple channels. It's ready now. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you unified personalization service. So we invite you to come and test it out. We already have customers who have tried it out. I can promise you their life has changed. They're already loving it. It doesn't take them weeks or months anymore. We're talking minutes. That is revolutionary. The most important thing is your end consumers are getting a consistent experience, whether they're going to have it in the emails, whether they're going to have it on the web, whether it's on SMS, or even in store. And that is how fundamentally we're changing personalization service. We rewrote the entire piece so that we can revolutionize how we do things to the next generation. So that's good. That's a fundamental block we've solved. I want to move on to the next block, which is the optimization part. For that, I'm going to bring on a very favorite subject, which everybody's talking about at the moment, AI. You know, the interesting thing about AI is, when I did my university years, I had a curriculum in AI, and it used to be like Fight Club. We never really spoke about it, simply because of the fact everybody thought that you were a geek or a nerd. So it was never cool. So we never really spoke about AI, or that you knew AI for that matter. But now it's not the case. AI is very cool. Everybody talks about AI. You have every single vendor out there who talks about AI. They put a logo of AI on the website, and they charge you 50% more. Right? They haven't done anything different. They've just put the logo on, slapped it on, and say, hey, you know, I'm going to charge you more. And what's even worse is they even name their AI after dead scientists. That's even more hilarious, in my opinion. The interesting thing about AI is it needs to have a very specific application. Like Ashwin is saying, you need to ask the right questions to get the right answer. It needs to be very, very specific. Otherwise, it's going to turn out like our Brexit negotiations, for example. Nobody knows why we started in the first place. Nobody knows what we're going to get. And as of this morning in Brussels, we're still a no-go. And that's exactly how AI will turn out to be. But I'm going to give you an example of where we can specifically apply AI, which can solve our problems today, now, not in 10 years' time, like now, I mean now. So let's look at this example here. It's a customer's example, a scary-looking campaign again. Trust me, I see many of those because that's my job, to look at scary-ass campaigns. And the customer came to us and said, hey, you know, we implemented this, but trust me, we don't want to touch it ever again because it took me so long to implement in the first place. They gave us the task, and they said, hey, you know, I'm going to give you the task. Go figure out how to optimize this. So I brought it back and gave it to our R&D team and said, guys, you know, this is what the customer has. So how are we going to help them optimize it? The guys stood back, and they said, hey, this is what we're going to do. Basically, this program answers 4 important questions. Who is my customer? What is the content? When I want to deploy the content? And where? Which channel? It's basically 4 questions which this big program answers. So then we thought, okay, if we can apply AI not to everything, not to the rest of the world or world poverty, just those 4 questions. And that's exactly what we did. And we ended up with this. A simple program which can predict where the customers could be, which answers your who question, but the sequence changes a little bit because AI is cool. Then you have where. So we start predicting where your consumers are going to be, which is the interesting part. It's like the origin and destination thing. And then at the point of contact, you can decide when and what is the content. And that is something which simplifies existing programs, and you can apply to existing sophisticated, complicated programs. But then we always thought, you know, AI should be simple. It should be, you know, it's like flicking a switch. And that's exactly what we made it. So we have a send time engine where basically you flick a switch, it's done. You deployed it. First, we started with simple email campaigns. Then we promoted it to automation centers. And now we're promoting it across all channels so that all you have to do is, if you want to communicate with your end consumer at the point which is most relevant to them. You don't have to break your head. Just use the power of your finger to go click. Done. It's hype-free. And that's how AI should be. The second thing is we want to make it tangible so that you can touch and feel it. You can interact with it, right? Because if it's a black box, it's just a black box and it's scary. And that's what we want to make it. We wanted to make it tangible. And that's what we did. So what you can do is you can go into our incentive recommendations engine, and it's simply like dialing up and down, saying, I want more of this, I want less of this. And that's what you do. And the AI automatically calculates it for you, what sort of offer we want to put in front of the customers. It's like a guardrails. It's basically taking your intuition and applying it as one of its inputs. And that's what makes it tangible, right? So AI needs to be specific. We're not thinking about some scary-looking AI. We're thinking about AI which you shouldn't even notice. And that's what we did. We solved it using the 4 questions and 4 different answers. Okay, all right. So we've got personalization sorted, which has been a core problem. Now we know that we can personalize across channels consistently. You don't have to do coding anymore. You don't have to go to IT degree colleges, etc. You can still be marketers and do your day job, which is cool, right? The second thing is we know for a fact all the programs you've already done is not going to go for a waste. We can still optimize it using AI and get better uplift. So you can move away from one to many to one to one, which is what we've been proposing all along. And we as marketers always said right time, right everything, but we know that we never got there. But now we can. So AI is done. The second part is done. Optimization is done. But then I can hear you thinking, so Raj, in the first thing you said, you just shift the curve and automatically everything works. So what does that mean? So what we wanted to do was, we wanted to personalize your experience. We believe if we personalize your experience, you will personalize your end consumer's experience better. And that's what we wanted to do, because nobody actually thought about it, or maybe they thought about it and they did nothing with it. So what we did was, we took our own powerful automation center, if you will, right? It's loaded with features. It's got tons of things in it. Our entire platform has got so many features, you can't even list it in a single page. And we all know that. You've experienced it. Some of you are already using it. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to take our own software and convert it into a very specific platform for your business. It needs to be specific to the industry you're working in. If you're an e-commerce marketer, it needs to be specific to you, to your industry. If you're a retail marketer, it needs to be specific to retail. If you're in travel, whether it's OTAs or airlines, it needs to be specific to you. The second thing is, you should be able to modify it to your own business needs. And that's what we've done. So we've taken an empty software, if you will, and we've made it very, very specific to the marketer's needs. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go into showing how an e-commerce marketer's experience changes on a day-to-day basis. Okay? Let's have a look at the software. When a marketer logs in now, they can see 2 big indicators. You can see the active customers, and then you can also see the revenue. The active customer is the customers who are buying right now, not just every customer in your database, but active customers who are buying at this moment in time. And then you can also look at how it's performing with the same period, or you can compare it year on year. And then there are several indicators like new contacts, lead to first-time buyers, and churning customers. Then if I move on to the next big indicator here, or your goals, which is revenue, and then I could use the edit functionality to set a target. When the boss comes and says, hey, we need to improve our targets, that's what you do. You actually set it in and save that as objectives. Once you've saved it, the system automatically calculates where you are now, where you really should be, and what your target is, and how much you've made extra money and get the bonus. And then you can also see on the right-hand side where you can compare year-on-year targets or what your revenue is streaming and trending over a period of time. And then if I go down, there are different strategies. Things like average order value, purchase frequency, active customer revenue, the web traffic which is generated from demand generation, and premium customer revenue. So what if I want to improve, let's say, the average order value? What do I do then? I go in here, click on it, and then I get access to a library of tactics which will help me improve my average order value. And if I want to know one of these tactics, all I do is I go and highlight one of them and hit the details button. I'll know exactly what the tactics are meant for, whether it's a funnel tactics, it's meant for conversion, and then I know exactly what I can do with it. The best part is, if I hit the create button, the system says, hey, your tactics have been created. And then you go into the actual automation center itself, and then you'll see a full-fledged campaign which has got everything you need. Triggers, it's got the segments, which is pre-built for you and fully tested, and then it also has all the tactics content in there. If I go into the email editor, you'll actually see that the entire content is fully populated for you. This will help you with content planning. As you can see, all the blocks are required, which are fully pre-populated. So you can go into the editor itself and then do simple configuration changes and then make it your own. You can change the logos, you can change the color scheme, and then it's completely yours. If I go into the tactics library, as you will see, the full list of tactics which are already available. So right from demand generation, lifecycle tactics, conversion tactics, and if I go down further, as you can also see, funnel tactics, and then you also have all the other tactics, things like down to the AI part, which is replenishment. Okay? So you have the entire set of tactics which are ready-made for you. So what you saw was a dashboard which is fully customized to your industry. You can take that dashboard, and then you can make your absolute own and set your own targets. And once you've done that, then there are sets of strategies which you can connect with the marketing managers. So starting with the CXOs, and then going down to the VPs, and then the marketing execution itself. So the entire organization is aligned right from top to the bottom. Okay? So what we're also going to do now is we're going to move on to the second section where I'm going to show you the same experience, but from a different lens. What if you're an airline marketer? So basically, when you're an airline marketer, you'll have the same dashboards, but it's completely different in terms of what it's tracking. You have active travelers, and then the strategies are completely different, as you can see. And then you also have something like the big goals which airline marketers do, which is around the ancillary revenue. Again, once you've set your target, you know where you should be and your milestones are. And then you have a separate set of complete different strategies for them, which is all based on ancillary revenue. And then again, I can click on improving that, and then I have a choice of pre-built tactics which are fully tested and ready to go. I hit create, and now I have a complete set of tactics which are fully fine-tuned, most importantly, fully tested for what an airline campaign should be. Right? So if I go into the content creation part, you will actually notice that every single block, including countdown timers, and the personalization service, the scary-ass things, are already done. Now I'm going to preview it. And it's all done in terms of all the blocks which are available for you, including live seat maps and things like that. The best part is the airline strategies are completely different. The tactics are different. So if I go into the library, you'll notice that it's got a completely different set of tactics which are very fine-tuned to the airline industry. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So that's how we personalize your experience. So we started with dashboards, went into strategies, and then into the tactics part. So if you think about what we have done is we have taken our own empty software. We know it's not empty. but we want to exaggerate it and call it empty simply because of the fact the features are no good if you don't know how to use it or if you don't know how to use it to the fullest extent. It's as good as being empty. That's the visual indicator for you. We want to take our own empty software. We built a strategic layer on it, which can be fine-tuned for your business. But the most important thing is you have all the tactics you need to deploy and affect all those strategies. You know the graph I showed you there? When we made a bold statement saying, hey, we're just going to shift the baseline from here to here. That's what we did. We built a library of tactics. And building that wasn't easy, right? There was a cross-platform effort. It's a cross-company effort. And Ohad was so passionate about when he said it because we went through the pain for 24 months. So it wasn't just the product team. We had the solution consultants involved. We had the solutions architects involved. We had the professional services involved. These guys were implementing programs for customers day in and day out. When we launch all these big campaigns, not just us, every single people in the vendors space do it. It's probably done through a professional service setup, or it's probably done through a strategic services setup, right? For a customer to fully automatically adopt it is humongous effort. But we wanted to take that effort out of the equation. We want to make it 90-10. What we know is we believe that 90% of your use cases in your industry, in your business, can be implemented with minimal effort, with 10% of your effort. So basically, what you can do is simply configure and deploy. It's not going to be months and years. It's not even going to be weeks. We believe it could be days. We already have customers who are already testing this out in the e-com space, in the retail space, and also in the airline space. And the results are extraordinary. And we are loving it. We are absolutely loving it. And I couldn't be more proud to represent our product team and just smile my heart out saying, this is awesome, right? But it wasn't easy. When we were building it, one of the things we realized is we were building not an automation platform or a marketing automation platform, or we were building a marketer's platform. We were fundamentally changing every single component in our platform to suit marketers. Everything revolves around you, so we were building a marketer's platform. So there are a couple of product folks here. Guys, if you're from the product organization, would you mind standing up, please? So we also have our CTO, a couple of guys from product. Ladies and gentlemen, give them a big round of applause. It wasn't easy, right? And these guys had their blood, sweat, and tears put into it. And I was there, and I was there in the front seat, experiencing the joys and broken hearts, and you name it. It was there. So we put our entire effort into it. In other ways to say, we put our eggs in one basket, if you will, right? The most important thing is we did research for 24 months. This is not just like, hey, let's do that. It wasn't that. We did research. We knew that the platform adoption needs to happen. We took our own data and we applied deep learning to it, and we found, okay, this is how the platform is going to get adopted. And the other set of work which went into it is we went into each and every vertical. In other words, each and every industry. And then we basically shortlisted all the different use cases which customers would require for them to get going. And that's the third effort we did. Okay? So that was like a combined effort, and it was a threefold effort. So here's the thing. I want to recap it, and if there are three things you want to take with you, this is what I want to take you with. Track objectives, your industry-specific objectives. Set targets. Whether it's your boss, whether it's your board, you can set your targets, and your entire team, your entire marketing team can align on a single target. And the third, the most important one, is the toughest of all, is when your boss comes and says, increase that 10%, then you know that there are several sets of tactics which are readily available for you, which you can deploy within a few clicks. I'm exaggerating, but at least a few days. And those are the three things. Track your objectives, set your targets, and deploy turnkey tactics. So here's the thing. When you know that you don't have to rely on empty software, when you know that there is an industry-specific solution here, now, it's here, it's available now. So I invite you to come along and experience the new way of doing things, where the solution comes first. We're not going to ask you to make burgers. I know you're already hungry by now. And I want to ask one thing of you, only one thing. Say no to empty software. Thank you so much.